All right, before we dive in, I just want to give a huge thank you to Dr. Samir Al-Rashani for his work in getting all this material ready. Okay, let's get into it. Today, we are going to do something that I know can sound a little scary. We're going to tackle the Canadian Income Tax Act. Yeah, I know, it's this massive, intimidating book. But stick with me here, because I promise that by the end of this, you'll have the basic tools to navigate it like a pro. So you've met me, but I completely forgot to introduce you to my co-star for this whole journey. We have a bit of a nickname for it. We lovingly call it the Green Monster. Yeah, the ITA. And believe it or not, it's about to become your new best friend. Okay, Section 1. Let's get properly introduced to this green monster. It's time to make it a whole lot less terrifying. I can practically hear you thinking, best friend? This thing? Look, I'll tell you a story. When I was a student, I was so intimidated, I actually tried sleeping with the ITA under my pillow. Seriously. I was hoping all that tax knowledge would just kind of seep into my brain by magic. Osmosis. Well, it didn't work. All I got was a very, very stiff neck. So the point is, you don't need magic. You just need to get comfortable with it. And I'm being completely serious about this next part. I want you to just start carrying this book around. Get used to how heavy it is, flip through it, feel the pages. You'll notice they're super thin, right? But they're also way tougher than they look. The very first step to taming this monster is to stop being afraid to actually touch it. Right, now that we're a bit more comfortable just holding the book, it's time for our next step. We need to understand its anatomy. Because this monster isn't just one big scary thing. We gotta look inside and see what it's made of. So here's the thing. Even though we call the entire book the Income Tax Act, it actually has a bunch of different documents inside. You've got the act itself, sure, but also draft legislation, rules, treaties, and the regulations. Now, that sounds like a lot, but here's the good news. For our purposes, we only really need to focus on two, the act and the regulations. That's it. So what's the difference between them? It's actually pretty simple. Think of it like this. The Act tells you what the rule is. It sets out the big principles. For example, the Act will say you can deduct the cost of a depreciable asset, but it's not going to tell you how much. That's where the regulations come in. They give you the specific nitty-gritty details, the exact percentages, the rates, the calculations. So the Act provides the rule, and the regulations provide the numbers. They're a team. And here's a crucial tip. This is a game changer. Whenever you're reading along in the Act and you see the word prescribed, that's your signpost. It's a code word. It's the Act basically shouting at you, hey, for the specific details on this, you need to go look in the regulations. That word is the essential link between the two parts of the book. Remember it. Okay, so we know what's inside the book, but how do we actually find anything in this thing? Well, that brings us to Section 3. It's time to learn how to read the map. Now, this is a fantastic, super low-tech trick that works no matter which year's edition of the book you have. First thing, forget about page numbers. Just ignore them. Turn the book on its side, the side opposite the spine, so you're looking at the edges of all the pages. You'll see these dark gray or black marks along the edge. These are your guideposts. This is your map. So go ahead and turn to the very first page of that first dark mark. What you're going to find there is the detailed table of sections. Now listen closely, this is not a table of contents. Notice there are no page numbers. Think of it more like a blueprint for the entire act. It's a list of every single section, all organized. It's like a filing cabinet. The parts are the big drawers, the divisions are the folders inside them, and the subdivisions are the individual documents. Excellent. Now let's do a little jump. Find the third dark mark from the front. Go ahead, flip to it. Turn to that first page, and what do you see? Another detailed table of sections. But this one is for the income tax regulations. You can tell you're in a different place because the numbering is totally different. You'll see Regulation 100, 200, and so on, instead of Section 1, 2, 3. And finally, let's jump all the way to the end. Go to the very last dark mark in the book. This is your index. Now, the index can be helpful, but let me give you a word of caution. A lot of terms in tax have different meanings in different situations. That's why it is so important to build that mental map of the Act's structure first before you start relying on the index. So you know what? Let's start building that mental map right now with a little hands-on exercise. I'm going to guide you through your very first tour of the Act structure. Okay, here is your first assignment. I want you to go back to that first dark mark, the detailed table of sections for the Act itself. Find Division B. Now, I want you to spend about 5 to 10 minutes just familiarizing yourself with what's in there. Now, don't read the actual dense sections yet. Just read the names of the sections inside subdivisions A, B, C, D, and E. Just the headings. So why Division B? Because this is the absolute heart of the entire act. It's where the rules for calculating a person's income live. You'll see headings for employment income, business income, capital gains, all the deductions. It's all there. The goal here isn't to memorize anything. It's just to get a feel for the landscape. Go ahead and pause and do that now. Welcome back. Now, I'm pretty sure I know what some of you might be thinking right now. There's a question that always comes up, and it's a really important one, so let's address it. It's the, why can't I just hit Control F on a digital version? Okay, boomer, question. And I get it. I totally do. It seems old school, but there is a very, very good reason for learning how to navigate the physical book first. Trust me on this. The whole thing comes down to one critical word: context. If you just type income into a search bar, you're going to get hundreds of results. Without a mental map of the structure, you have no idea if you're looking at a rule for a big corporation, a trust, or a person's job. You might find a perfectly correct section that has absolutely nothing to do with your problem. Building that structural context first makes every tool you use, including digital search, infinitely more powerful. So let's quickly recap what we've covered. First, the green monster is your tool, not your enemy. Second, it's got the act, the law, and the regulations, the details. Third, those dark marks on the side of the pages are your secret map. Fourth, your starting point is to get familiar with the layout of key areas like Division B. And most importantly, doing this physically builds the mental framework you need to navigate tax law effectively, no matter what tool you end up using. You've just taken the first and most important step. You've learned how to read the map. The intimidation is starting to fade, right? And the path forward is clear. So the only question left is, where are you going to go first?